I mean, you guys have pretty high marks for basically all the categories.
What's the green one? Which one are we lacking
Let's
in?
focus on the worst
It's
one.
so us to be like, which one sucks?
Yeah, we're great and everything, but what's that green one?
Dear Shandy. Welcome back to Dear Shandy, listeners. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
I'm already laughing because I feel so unqualified for today's episode. So we are joined today. Well, first I'll preface by saying that a very frequently asked question that we've been getting here on Dear Shandy is for us to have an astrologer on, a tarot reader, someone who could do our birth charts and explore what that means in terms of compatibility. And I'm going to get this right out of the way now. We don't know anything about this stuff. We literally know nothing. So I just want to make sure that's our disclaimer. But luckily, we are in wonderful hands. We are joined today by Maisy Bristol. She is very in demand as a tarot reader and astrologer, specializing in guiding individuals towards clarity and self-development, which sounds lovely. Sounds very fulfilling. You've been featured in Town and Country, Pop Sugar, Refinery 29, Marie Claire, New York Magazine, among others. And you've even developed your own online tarot courses and masterclasses. So she teaches other people how to read.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's extremely qualified, probably overqualified for us today, considering what neophytes we are. But Maisy Bristol, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting. I can't wait to dive in. I always love talking to people who are newcomers to the industry or to the topic, and be skeptics even, which I know one of you may be. So
Yes.
I was forewarned.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah, which one is it?
Yeah, I'm glad you're addressing that now because we were a little hesitant to go into this department, but like I said, it's been so frequently asked. I would consider myself pretty open to it, but Andy is a self-described skeptic about all things.
I'm skeptical about everything.
Yeah, that's true.
All
to be
things
fair,
in the spiritual and non-spiritual realm.
Yes. And so what we really loved about you is that when we told you that didn't deter you from coming on Dear Shandy.
Oh, no. Not at all. I mean, I get it all the time.
I'm sure you do, actually. You're probably used to it.
It's pretty fun, especially when you get things right and people are like, what? But my purpose here isn't to change your mind. You can believe whatever you want to believe. I could care less if you believe in it or not. But it's all in good fun. It's all to help. And if it doesn't help you or whoever else out there, then then you don't have to do it. So
I already love
really
her.
the way to look at it.
That's the best attitude. I love
Good
that.
attitude.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So given that we are neophytes in this realm, normally when we go into these episodes, we have like this long list of questions and it's very structured. But I attempted at first to put these questions together, but then I realized that today should really go more like a conversation. And I would rather we just start talking to you and ask for some readings and just sort of see where it takes us and go a little more free format than usual. So I hope that's okay with you.
Yep. Totally fine.
Okay. So I'm going to start off right at the back, just because I want to get to know you better. What's your background and like how does one get into this industry doing what you do?
That's a very great question. And I feel like a lot of people fall into it. It's not something I woke up, it's not something I thought about early on. And I said, that's what I'm going to be when I grow up. I enjoyed tarot cards. I started with tarot cards. I found one in my house and when I was like 15 years old, and I became fascinated. And then I became even more fascinated when I found out that people actually took it seriously and it wasn't just me. I was like, these are cool. And I just dove in. And then I realized that some people actually use it for real life situations. And then that's when the craze happened. that's when I couldn't shut it off. So then I started learning. And astrology alongside of that, because they do go hand in hand. And I started the business accidentally, really. It was not meant to be this. It wasn't meant to be a business, but it kind of just fell into my lap. It's like all these steps kept coming and I just kept going with them. And I love what I do and How can you say that that's, not what you should be doing if you love it? So
That's lovely.
so it's
I also
just been
think
a great journey.
it's probably a testament too to your skills and your intuition and just your results that you were able to build it sort of accidentally, I would think.
Yeah, I really didn't know. Well, I started my readings. I had read for people in person, obviously, but I started my readings over email because I was a little nervous to start charging, and I was nervous to get in front of people. I within this 5.5 years or 6 years of being in the business, I think I've grown as a person quite a lot. And I used to be very shy and very timid about, new things. And so this was just one of the ways to grow as a person. And I put myself out there, and once I started getting more positive feedback, I thought, well, maybe this is actually going to work. So I put more and more effort into it. And, I feel like when you put more effort into things, more success comes to you. It's just kind of an attraction thing. So, so yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
I really love your answer. I don't know if you know this about me, but my day job is I'm an opera singer. And I remember the first time I got paid, those first couple of gigs, you work towards something and you do so much for free up until that point. And it's almost, you almost feel undeserving. You're like, oh, I'm getting paid to do this now. And it's sort of jarring. And it's an adjustment to realize your worth and realize that you can and should charge for your services.
You definitely should. And it takes a lot of energy for the arts, like singing or tarot or whatever it is. It comes with an amount of energy that is drawn from you to present to other people, and so I think it can be draining especially if you're not getting what you need out of it, or receiving what you need back.
Yes, definitely. I relate. So I surprisingly relate a lot to everything you're saying. Actually.
Yeah, money makes everything weird.
It does.
Yeah.
Even things that feel so pure.
Yes. Especially things that feel so pure.
No, you're right. You're totally right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
I love that you're like, money. He comes in with this.
I know about money. Thought I could jump in there. Anyway. Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead. Tell us, guide us.
Yeah, guide us. We need
are
you
lost.
to even
need
guide
guidance.
us in interviewing you today.
Yeah.
Pretty much I want to cover 3 main topics. First is Mercury in retrograde. Another one is birth charts. Actually, maybe it's 4, but you tell me how they intersect. Then there's astrology, like our signs, and then tarot. So this is free format. I would love for you to just tell us what we should ask you.
I feel like we should start with Mercury retrograde, and then we go into birth charts, and astrology is in there somewhere, and already in those answers, and then tarot after that, and then we can land on a reading for you guys.
Love it. I'm excited.
Okay, so I don't know if you have any questions to start off with Mercury retrograde, but I can just give a simple definition.
Yeah, literally, I was going to ask you to just give us the bare bones and what it really means for the average person.
So Mercury is the planet of communication and short distances and travel. So when a planet goes retrograde, it looks like it's going backwards in the sky, but it's not. It's kind of an illusion. And
sorry to interrupt you, but Andy, we were talking about this just before this call, and Andy was like, it's just an illusion. It's not actually going backwards. So
I'm gonna.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
Like astronomy.
You do. Andy loves astronomy.
Yes.
He knows everything about the planets.
Good. You should relate to some of this.
Yes.
I hope I will.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Astrology is science. It's based on angles and numbers and positions in the sky. It's theoretical because, you pull out meaning from it, but it's derived from actual numbers and actual angles. So,
yeah. And they both start with astro. So I'm down.
You are.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you. Okay. So Mercury, planet of communication. Yeah. It looks like it's going backwards, but it's not.
Planet of communication and travel looks like it's going backwards. And then if, whenever all the planets go retrograde at some point, and they stay retrograde for certain periods of time, depending on how far away they are from the Earth and so forth. So Mercury tends to go retrograde in from 3.5 weeks, and it does it 3 times a year. And when it goes retrograde, or when any planet goes retrograde, it means that the things that planet represents become slower. I kind of equate it with being drunk a little bit, because like, you know what you should be doing, but like, it's just not really working the same way. And it's more of a time to not do anything, because it's gonna be messed up. It's just a time to sit and reflect. So regarding Mercury retrograde, that is a time to not speak up, to not sign contracts, to not make connections with other people as much as you would normally, because it'll end up kind of being messed up in the end. So you could blurt out something completely out of the blue and totally ruin someone's day, or like put yourself in a bad position. Breakups tend to happen during Mercury retrograde because people are just like exposing all these things and not saying the right stuff, and communication is out of whack. It also reflects on technology. So it is travel and communication, but it's also technology. So glitches happen in computers and TVs. And if you send out a mass email to your whole company instead of your friend, then that is a Mercury retrograde situation. So yeah, it's just really like, it's like an evil fairy came and tried to mess up it just crosses wires with everyone.
Could it also be seen as a sort of vacay, like a time to fall off the face of the earth and go live in the woods for a while?
That's a good way to look at it.
It's
that when she said it's like not a good time to like make any big decisions or sign any contracts, I'm like, that sounds amazing.
It's a time to hermit and to reflect on the past.
Like a good year-long retrograde. Sounds good.
I mean, 3.5 weeks, it's like perfect time to just disappear.
Does it coincide with spring break at all, or is it, where are we looking on the calendar?
It can coincide. It depends, because it's always moving forward, and over the years, it keeps kind of being pushed forward, but generally it's in like the fall and the spring and summer.
So what are we looking at in terms of this calendar year? Like, when are those 3.5 weeks that we should be looking out for?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we just finished one, in Gemini a couple weeks ago, and then we'll be back in retrograde in Libra around September.
Oh, I have what's already a dumb question. I feel like there's going to be a lot of these today. But when you say one's in Gemini, one's in Libra, can you define what that means?
So the sky, where the planets travel, they all have sections that are devoted to zodiac signs. So,
I feel like I've seen like a graphic of that before.
Yeah. So, they're all like constellations, so it's like, as this planet's moving past the Sagittarius zone, it's in Sagittarius, and then it leaves Sagittarius and goes to Capricorn. And those are just zones in the sky. Okay. So Mercury was in Gemini, and it's about to enter Cancer soon in July. And then once it gets to Libra, a couple signs later, in September, then it'll have this retrograde period.
I honestly, my questions, I feel like, are so stupid that I'm afraid
to even ask. No, that's a reasonable
them.
question.
Well, my next one, it's probably going to be really dumb. Okay. But my next question is, let's say you are a Libra and Mercury is in retrograde in Libra. Does that affect a Libra any differently than
That's a great question.
Oh, it would definitely affect Libras more than it would affect other signs. And it would also affect any other air sign as well, because they make like connections in the chart. It's called the trine. But Geminis, Aquarius, and Libras, they will all be feeling this particular Mercury retrograde the hardest.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We're scraping by, Andy.
Yeah.
Your questions are fabulous. You keep it coming.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I've learned this far in life that if you just don't know something, you might as well just admit it.
It's very
underappreciated art.
It is an underappreciated art. I don't like it when people pretend to know things when they don't. So,
agreed. I have a general question before we get into the weeds. When did astrology begin? Is there a date, a general time when people can pinpoint when there was this astrology thing happened?
I could not tell you a date. But I would assume it's many, many centuries old. It's like way, way back, to the Romans, that kind of far back, somewhere around AD, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Is there is there any kind of historical precedent for how, because what I'm assuming is that it kind of started with people looking at the sky and seeing, forces or spirits or whatever. That was the first, 30,000 years ago. I don't know.
I'm sure someone
I can't
will
imagine they were
fact-check you.
sitting there with tools and figuring out distances between stars. They were just like, okay, that's the shape of a bear. That's, I don't know, something like, I'm simplifying. So, and then, astronomy was kind of created, invented. I don't know how you came about 3,000 years ago, I'm guessing. Egyptians started doing some stuff with maybe even before that. So I'm just trying to find out so it went from, animals in the sky to, hey, wait a minute, these are actually celestial bodies that we can kind of, plan our harvests with and sail our ships by and all sorts of stuff like that. When did it go from astronomy to a more mystical take on the sky? Or if you don't know when, do you know how?
As you're talking, I'm like looking things up and I'm thinking, but
There's no Googling here.
Yeah, we're not trying to stump you.
No, I'm not. I'm actually really curious.
I'm
I totally get it if you don't know, because it's not your
definitely
job
don't
to know.
I can't say anything to this conversation.
I love
that.
that.
Would be substantial. But
Good answer.
That's a great answer.
I can say that, the reason that astrology exists is so that we find meaning in something that's bigger than us, which is how religion came about, which is what humans have been doing since the very beginning. So I have to feel like astronomy happened and then astrology happened, where you're like, okay, this is so big and vast and amazing. What do we see? Like, how can we draw coincidences or a narrative from the outer beings or like the gods,
Yeah.
I mean, they are connected to gods. Like Neptune is a god. Neptune's a planet.
Sure. No, I mean, it's very for a leapfroggy thing. I'm sure there was some astrology, then astronomy, then astrology. That they probably grew together to some degree. I'd be really curious to know if anyone, or if there's any literature on actually finding that pinpoint where they started branching off or coming together. I'm actually really interested.
I foresee it.
I don't know, but maybe
I'm going to be doing a lot of Googling after this. I'm going to get back to you with a full report.
Okay, you do that. No Googling allowed right now.
So with Mercury going into retrograde, what does that really mean? Because we are a relationship podcast, so often we try to bring it back to relationships. What does that typically mean for a relationship? Does that mean like don't have any serious conversations or don't make any big decisions? Like, what advice would you typically give to a couple, maybe at various stages in the relationship? I'm just curious what you would normally tell people.
The advice there is to not have serious conversations and to take moments to consider what's missing or to consider what you want to say, because you will have something to say, I'm sure. This period, since Mercury is about thought, like upstairs and like the energy between communication, like thinking to communicating, there are going to be a lot of thoughts happening around what's missing or what could be better, or maybe even like the past. There's a lot of, because it is retro, like we're thinking to the past. And so we use past experiences or recent experiences that were past now, to kind of understand what we need in that moment or what we're missing. So it's a moment to reflect and to think and not to bring up the serious conversation quite yet. I've known a lot of people to like break up at the very end of Mercury retrograde because they've had that time to think and to stew and whatever. And yeah, I mean, it sheds light on a lot of things.
And so if they break up at the end of Mercury retrograde, is that a good thing because it's happening at the end and they're
I think if you break up at the end of Mercury retrograde, like when Mercury's going direct, it means something. It means like this is the right thing to do.
Okay. It's like an educated or informed decision.
It's an educated or informative action. Okay. And when planets turn direct, like when they come back from retrograde, that's normally when the action is spurred from like the reflection. So yeah, I would follow your gut. If you're ending Mercury retrograde, you have like an instinct or like an urge to do something.
I mean, honestly, Mercury retrograde sounds great.
Yeah.
Because I'm already sort of haunted by the past. I'm one of those people that probably reflects too much. And we learned when we had an Enneagram expert on that we're both past oriented, which definitely tracks, by the way. We definitely are. And so, I don't know, it kind of sounds liberating to be in a moment where you just, I'm not going to make any major decisions right now.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Well, it's probably better not to. So does that cover Mercury retrograde? Should we
I think
move on
so.
to birth charts?
Yeah. Let's do birth charts, which has come so requested. I've been shocked, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I've never...
Hundreds.
Like, I've had a tarot reading here or there, and, I know our signs. I don't know too much about the compatibility there. But the birth chart thing we're really new to that.
It's pretty wild how much information you can gather from a birth chart. I have to really refrain when I go on dates, to not ask, not be that weird person who's like, okay, so when were you born and where and what time and now we have to sit down and talk about your chart.
Yeah, you have a lot of first dates.
But you can kind of figure out how it's going to go before it even starts. So it is pretty tempting. So what a birth chart is when you type it in and you need your the day that this person was born, where they were born, and the exact time that they were born. And those are, you can do it without the time, but it's best if you have the exact time. And the way that it appears is this giant circle with 12 pie charts and an inner circle that shows the connections that the planets make with one another. I don't know if I should pull one up right now.
Yeah, show us.
Pull it up.
We're on YouTube,
or just
so
you guys apparently, if that would be helpful. But this is my chart, for example. It looks like this.
Oh, okay, wow.
Then in those pie charts, where are the planets, right? So these pie charts represent the zodiac signs. So wherever the planets were at the time that I was born, they'll each have their own signified sign, right? Because they'll be in that portion of the sky. So as you can see, I have a couple planets in this first house that they're called houses, these little pie charts. Oh. And that's my Aquarius house. So the point here is that every planet is associated with a sign, and they are all in different parts of the sky, and they move at different paces. So that's why not one person can have the same birth chart, because, the moon moves faster than Venus and the sun moves faster than, other planets. They all just kind of go at their own rate. And so they land in different signs at the time that people were born, no matter what. And on top of that, not only do you have what the planet represents and the energy of the sign that goes with it, but you also then can talk about how the planets talk to one another. This is where the angles come in. So if one is directly opposite another planet, that's called an opposition. And it does create a little tension. Or if you have a square, that's a super intense kind of contact. Or if they're together, it's called a conjunction. And all of these are associated within a 5-degree orb. So
There's a lot of information.
I feel like it's a lot of information all at once.
No, I love it. I feel bad. We're give it to us, give us everything in a nutshell. Yeah. Poor thing.
Give me astrology.
I feel
5 minutes. I've
explained it way better in the past. It is a lot, but I'll just give one example. So if your moon sign, if the moon represents your emotions and your emotional needs and basically how you give and receive love. If your moon sign is in Leo, Leo is the zodiac sign of pride and being the sparkling one, the one who needs the attention and needs to know that back. So if your moon sign is in Leo, that means that you need someone who will constantly adore you, that makes it known that you're the one, you're the only one. And if you put that moon sign in your 7th house, that is the relationship house. So that means it's very important in your romantic relationships to hear that. Okay. Whereas if they were in your I don't know, your first house, which is the house of like the body and the corporal stuff, maybe it's more important for you to get compliments on your looks or on your, physical body.
Oh,
as opposed to like you're the one in devotion, that seventh house connection. So it can get pretty deep that way because you got the planet and then you have the sign and then you have the house. And then on top of that, you have the connections that those things make.
Okay. So is it therefore safe to say that a birth chart can, like you said, predict, you said the word predict earlier, kind of predict compatibility and potential pitfalls and communication with any relationship, but also romantic relationships?
Totally. Yeah. With any relationship, but also romantic relationships, you can kind of figure out where the pros and cons are, where you might have issues or where you might be like super great. For example, one of the top things that astrologers look for when they compare charts is a sun-moon connection. If your sun is the same as someone else's moon sign and they are in conjunction, which means they're like probably close by or in conjunction next to you, then that means that that sun person will be giving the moon person exactly what they need without even trying, because that's just who they are. The sun is the identity and the ego. So like you're just emanating that kind of energy, and the moon person receives it and like understands it innately and emotionally. So like that's one of the key connections between a couple that astrologers look at.
That makes me really want our birth chart read.
Yeah.
Can you do that for us?
Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over them I'm going to go over yours, and then I'm going to go over Andy's, and then we'll do them sort of together. I'm just going to give you like a brief overview.
Okay.
If that works. Okay. So you are a Virgo sun, Sagittarius moon, Virgo Mercury, Libra Venus, Mars in Sagittarius, and we'll start with those. So basically, that's a lot of Virgo and a lot of Sag. That means that you are a good balance between like fiery and go and quick, and I want to explore and do things, and then you're also practical about it at the same time. So that may also cause some tension between like what you want to do and then like what you should do, and then you may have some like inner conflicts there.
Oh, I relate to everything so far.
With your Sun and Mercury both in Virgo, that means that the way that you come off, or the way that you innately are, is someone who is very pragmatic and someone who like thinks about what she does. You also are pretty intellectual. Like you need intellectual stimulation to really get into someone. You need to be able to sit down and have like not deep, like esoteric conversations, but more just like interesting conversations. Like you would get super bored if you didn't have that. Mercury actually rules Virgo, so that's a very like prominent planet. And then, so basically, you're a great communicator, is what I'm saying. You communicate. This is great for you being on a podcast and running this podcast, because that's like a natural thing for you to be able to take what something means and then explain it to someone else. Your Mars in Sagittarius means that you're pretty active. You're someone who's like very energetic. If we could compare you to like a dog, you might be like not necessarily border collie status, because you have all that Virgo in you, but you are like a very energized kind of person. Like you need to be doing things.
I think I once called you. I said if you were a dog, you'd be a border collie.
Did you really?
I believe I did say that once.
That sounds familiar. That also sounds like something you would say to me.
It's something I would, and I think did.
So far, everything you're saying is eerily accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about your moon sign also in Sagittarius. Sagittarius moon people are like very into, like, it's hard to like lock them down. I feel like because Virgo's so slow moving, and Venus and Libra is a little bit like, I don't know, I'm not really like ready to settle down. You may have been kind of like fluttering around for a while and kind of taken a while to really settle on someone. He must have had to work pretty hard to get to this point. But it means that like once you are committed, you're fully excited and fully into it. Partnership is big. You're an eternal optimist. You really believe that, like, especially in moon related topics like relationships, really believe that like you can always, overcome anything. And yeah, you're a very partner-oriented person. Venus is the planet of love. Libra is balance, equality. So you really think about other people before yourself, especially that Virgo in there. That's a sign of service. So
Ooh,
you
wow.
really
There's a lot more than just reading your astrology. You know, the couple of sentences you read in like Cosmo.
Yeah.
Like I know that Virgos are generally perfectionists. That's pretty much all I knew. So that's really interesting. Very specific.
Yeah. So already before I even pull up your chart together, you have a pretty great connection going on. But we'll talk about that once we get further down the line. He has a lot of Sagittarius in his chart too. So that's pretty good. You guys relate on that level.
Yeah, like a good
you're
Sag.
the more like grounded one, but he has more, like he's got a lot of sensitive sides to him that you might, like, I feel like you guys balance each other out really well because you're not like mushy gushy or anything, but he might be a little bit more. So it kind of like levels you out and maybe makes you talk about feelings, you know, because you must, and would never leave your side because both his moon and his sun are in Scorpio. So that's very committed, very intense, very almost like you're mine now. Don't leave me. Let's see. His rising sign, if you were right about your time, I can probably confidently say that you're a rising Cancer because it is in the middle. You're at 15 degrees and there's 30 degrees between each sign. So you're right in the middle. So we can say that you have of the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and rising sign, you have 4 signs in a water sign. So that's why I'm saying you're a little bit more mushy gushy because you have like the sensitivity to like help her kind of bring out her sensitivities. So as a rising Cancer, you probably are, when you're at a party, you're social, and when you're not, you're like, we're not going anywhere. Like, I don't want to go I'm not doing anything. You kind of have to be pushed to like go out and do the party stuff, you know? I think you would prefer, especially with Mars and Pisces too. That's more like, I just want to stay at home and like just dive into a great book or a movie or something. But Cancer, rising Cancer is very like, let's talk about your feelings, or how are you doing today? And I want to help, you know, the mothering kind of maternal sensitivity there. And then sun, so we'll say sun and moon in Scorpio. What that means is that you were born on a full moon or close to one. So that means that you're generally very in touch with your feelings. Like you understand, or maybe, sorry, I didn't mean that. That's more full moon because you can see.
Yeah, I was going to say you're way off.
No. I meant the other way around because when I was born in a full moon. So basically your sun and your moon can see each other, like they're opposite, right? So technically that would be like your self or identity can see your emotions. Like I know what I feel. But if you're born on a new moon, then those emotions can get kind of mixed up. So you might have to take a little bit longer to really understand what's your emotion talking, what's your ego talking. And so it might kind of trip you up on taking action on feelings for a bit. Cause you're like, wait a second, which one's which, you know? But you both have a lot of Sagittarius, which is, and it's not in just like the more prominent planets. It's more of the outer planets. You have both Mercury and Venus in Sagittarius. And I'm trying to refrain from like going into comparing. I'm trying to finish this and then we can compare. But basically Mercury in Sagittarius means that you probably will say things that other people, like you're not afraid to say things that other people won't like. Especially if you have like Scorpio in you. You are very fine to stir up trouble.
Well, I mean, you do have inside information in the first 10 minutes of this podcast. I've already caused trouble. But I like it. I like it.
That's pretty accurate.
It's accurate.
It is accurate.
Yeah.
But you're also, given Venus and Sagittarius, you're also one to kind of like, I feel like you pretend, or you want to be the person who like kind of hops around and doesn't settle down. But that Scorpio in you is just very intense, like very like, I want a partnership like now. And if you get too close to someone, it's over. Like, so I feel like you probably tried to stay far away from people or from getting too close to people as much as you could, but deep down you're a softie and you like to be in relationships. So
That's true.
It's totally true.
okay. So for comparing charts, wow. Okay. So there's this, I would never like just solely go off this, but just to show you guys, it's actually really good. There's this little compatibility meter that my app uses. I don't really look at it because I can just figure that out myself, but it is something to note when it's like that good. Usually,
Ooh, Andy, we're so compatible.
I mean, you guys have pretty high marks for basically all the categories.
What's the green one? Which one are we lacking
Let's
in?
focus on the worst
It's so us to be like, which one sucks?
Yeah, we're great and everything, but what's that green one?
That's money. They're both in the number 6 zone, but everything else is, and then career support is 7, but that's like a good score. I've seen plenty of couples who are like 7, 6, and like maybe 1 8 in there, but this is 8, 8, 7, 10, 6, 6, 10.
Wow. Okay, strong. Can you give us, sorry, because we're so clueless. Can you tell me the names of each of those categories and then our number? And
we're going to insert applause every time you say a number.
So the overall score is at 8, long-term 8, career support 7, home and family 10, communication 6, money 6, and romantic attraction 10.
Communication 6?
Yeah, money and communication.
I told you, just take it with a grain of salt. It really doesn't.
No grain of salt.
It's also so us to be like, yeah, 10, 10, 10. What's the 6?
Now just trying to look at your chart to see what we can pull out here. So this is what a chart looks like when you're putting them one on top of the other. You see there's so many more circles now. So we have Andy's chart on the outside and then your
Charlene.
Chart here, Sharleen.
Yeah.
And is it good that there's a lot of overlap on those lines?
Well, there would be overlap in pretty much anyone if you compared anyone's charts. The reason I can say that the reason that your romantic attraction meter is so high is because you both have Venus and Venus and Mars conjunction, which means that like your Venus and Mars signs are the same. They're both in Sagittarius. And basically that just means like hot sex. It means it's hot. So there's that. And then
when it happens.
Well, your sun, Sharleen, is sextile Andy's moon. That just means like it's like a really cute, just like little kind of nice aspect. It just means that you support his emotions. Your sun squares his Jupiter, which helps because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So, and you both have a lot of Sagittarius in there. There's a sense of just expansion and wanting to learn more. So you guys feed off one another. Like you feed off his intensity to learn more, which is, we all have an intensity somewhere in that chart, but like your identity, that sun sign vibe just means that you're interested in the things that he's interested, like innately, you know what I mean? Oh. So that you guys feed off the same kind of thought process and like the same things interest you.
I sound like a great partner.
Together. On top of that, your moon also is conjunct his Jupiter. So you are actually not just interested to be interested, you're like emotionally interested as well in those topics. Let's see.
You're so lucky, Andy.
Mm-hmm. It's great. Keep it coming.
So there's also another good one in here. We have an asteroid called Chiron in our chart.
Oh, I know about Chiron.
That is.
Sorry, I got excited.
Tell us about Chiron, Andy.
I'll let her tell us about Chiron.
It's a big one. It's like it talks about the deepest wounds that we have that we carry throughout our life. It's supposed to be things that we learn or that we develop from childhood or that we just came into this world having. But basically the idea is that it's an insecurity or a fear that we work through from beginning until the end. So everyone has one. We all have insecurities and fears. So everyone's got one. And your moon sign trines his Chiron and your Mars sign also trines his Chiron, which means that because Mars is the planet of like action and passion and your moon sign is your emotions, that means that you make him feel comfortable enough to talk about the deepest, darkest stuff. That it's innate within you to like you're probably only one of the only people who can really draw that out with ease.
I'll take that.
Mm-hmm. You will.
I'm amazed at how much knowledge like just not only about each planet, but then how there's just like it seems like an infinite number of possibilities.
What's the word for that thing where it's like describes how a leaf's veins move out?
Yeah,
it's a Mobius. What is it called?
I don't know, but that's cute that you know that. Anyway. If you do indeed know
it's just it's a flow chart that kind of just keeps branching off forever for infinity. It feels like there's a lot of stuff coming off of. There's just an infinite number of.
I will tell
branches.
You, I'll be learning astrology forever. You can never learn everything. It's like so infinite. It's like space. Seriously, there's so much to learn. So,
wow,
it is space.
Yeah, that's basically really just cool. Like a surface level like reading for you. That's kind of those are the kind of the key points there.
No, so neat.
So there's like a good chance we're not getting divorced anytime soon.
Yeah, would you agree with that?
No, I would say you guys are very compatible.
We're stuck with each other for life. Just that reading. That's what I get from that reading.
I can see why, as you said earlier, you would be tempted to ask people their birthday and birth time when you go on a date with them. It's just so tempting.
Oh yeah.
It really says a lot, and I don't think people realize that when they give you your time and everything. You could go on and on and on and get deeper and deeper and deeper. We could talk about family. We could talk about, again, like the insecurities, I could figure out how, like what your love language is or how to best approach you in an argument or.
Ooh, it's almost like, almost feels too revealing.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Violating. It's violating.
But don't worry, I'm not like scouring over your charts. Like that stuff takes some time and I don't need to do
It's just interesting because, I've been getting, even long before we started this podcast, I've gotten emails and DMs, just countless over the years, asking me what time I was born.
Oh, wow. They're trying to get to the bottom of you.
Yeah. I feel like exposed.
Wow.
All right. That's super cool. Thank you. I'm wondering now if we can do a tarot, because I've only ever done, my girlfriend does some tarot readings and we had a few glasses of wine one night and she did a reading for me, but we've never done something like that together. Is that something we can do together?
Yeah, I have my cards.
Yay. Right. Awesome.
There it is. Shuffle it up.
What would you like to do? I mean, do you have a question or a topic that you'd like to go into or topic?
I have a topic. I want to know exactly when I'm going to die.
Yeah, well, you're not in luck because I don't.
You don't.
I also don't know. I can't even read that. I don't do
yes, you
state.
can.
Why would you want to know that?
Tell me. I don't.
I would never.
Well, it's good to know. I think it's important.
No.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably not good.
There was an anime about this actually, where everyone walked around and it just Death Note, I think. This is super, super niche, but maybe someone out there will get it. But you walk around with
day you're gonna
like how many days you have left or something, and I just
Oh yeah, I know you're.
I actually just wanted to see what you. I don't want to know. I just wanted to see how you answered that. I was a test. Sick. It's sick.
Even
it's
if
sick.
I could tell you that, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
I don't read.
So is the answer that you can tell me, and you're not going to?
No, I can't tell you. And also, if I could, I wouldn't.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
All around great answer. It's very you to be so interested in this.
Yeah, I like to go dark first, and then slowly move to the light.
So do you have a relationship question?
I don't. I am really stumped. Yeah.
We can do your relationship overall. What you get as a partner give to him, what he as partner gives to you. What else do we want to know about the relationship?
Let's do the relationship one where what he does for me and what I do for him.
Yeah, let's do that.
Nice and basic.
Basic.
So we're just gonna do like overall relationship vibe, like what you, and then another card for what you give to him, another card for he gives to you.
Some good shuffling skills.
Yeah.
And then some like advice.
Okay, let's do that.
Or maybe, I was gonna say long-term potential, but I feel like we all know you're gonna go long.
Okay.
Just advice then.
Yeah, let's do it.
Great.
Let's do it.
I always reiterate at the beginning because I just feel like tarot cards need direction. Like you need to know exactly what you're asking before you pull cards. So that's why I say it over and over.
No, I love that because there's a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it's helpful to funnel it down to.
I agree. I'm a little overwhelmed.
So what happens is I just shuffle until the cards stop like popping up. And then I pull like an energy card or a theme card. And then we kind of dive into it after that.
Where are you located?
I'm in Montana.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that's a very pleasant wind chime I hear, because if you were here, you'd be in the no, it's good, but you'd be in the path of Elsa if you were on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. So it'd be a more violent wind chime.
Okay, so there's a lot of healing going on from the past from both of you, but we'll just start with the. I'm trying to figure out what some other cards over here, like the ones that flew out of the deck, I always take into consideration too. And I'm trying to like work them in, but I think I'll address them later. Sometimes I address them first and sometimes address them after, and then it makes more sense. So the first card was just like the overall, like, where are you right now? Current relationship, just energy or status. We have the 7 of Wands reversed. So like a regular playing card deck, the tarot deck has 4 suits and they all mean something. So Wands is one of the suits, and that's the fire sign in the 4 suits. And it represents how we think, our thoughts, our visions of the future, our goals. And then the 7 of Wands, when it's upright like this, it just means that we're being we're being super optimistic about a certain idea. We're fighting the unsolicited opinions of other people. So that's what it is when it's upright, and when it's reversed, it means that either we've overcome those opinions or those barriers, or we are getting way too focused on like what we want. I have to feel like it's probably like you've come together and just said, I don't care. And I'm kind of over that. It's more about like coming as one, as opposed to listening to other voices. So that's like just the overall situation going on. For what Sharleen gives to Andy, we have the 3 of Swords reversed. Upright, this is the card of betrayal, deceit, cheating. So if Andy has had any sort of issues with exes in the past regarding deceit, betrayal, cheating, that kind of realm, and people betraying trust, you come in like a shining light and saying, I'm going to be there forever and I will never do that to you. So that's kind of how you heal him. You know, like maybe that's just his relationship past is like the really shitty kind of thing that he's had to get over the years with, you know, along with being as he's with you. And then for you, Andy, what Andy gives you got the 6 of Cups reversed. So this is generally a family card. So I don't know if you've had issues with your family or bad childhood memories or bad experiences with parents in love or whatever. But this comes in to say, like, he's the one telling you that family instability is okay, or that he's never going to leave you and that we're a family now. Family is really, well, he's more like trusted partnership. You're more like long-term family. Is that even a possible thing? Like, it must, I don't know if your parents are divorced or something, but it seems just like the idea of growing a happy, healthy home is almost hard for you to believe. And then some advice about the relationship. You got the 3 of Cups reversed. Cups are about our emotions and connections with other people. And the 3 of Cups is a card of social gatherings and joyous occasions. It's basically like podcasting, you know, that's coming together to share thoughts and feelings and going to parties or seeing friends. Reversed, it can mean a bunch of different things. But in this case, I think it means that you guys put too much effort into keeping up relationships with other people or with appeasing everyone else, friends and family, to like going to gatherings or whatever. And you don't spend enough time like just by yourself. Like you are together now on your own, but you're not because you're working. Like that kind of thing. Maybe it's time to like bring in some intimate date nights or something like that to sort of build more.
Oh, I loved that.
That was cool. Thank you for that.
I really enjoyed that. It's just something very like self-indulgent.
Oh, super self-indulgent. It's like, tell me more about me.
Yeah, but I gotta say,
That's good stuff.
It's pretty neat when it resonates.
Yeah.
You know? Maisy, that was really fun. Thank you. I feel like this is, I mean, it takes guts to do what you do. It
Absolutely.
really does. I have mad respect to think on the spot.
Why
Like,
do you say that? I mean, I love it, but why does it take guts
because
to do
it's
it?
like thinking on the spot. I just to interpret something like that while we sit here waiting is
It's a lot of pressure.
it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
I'm impressed is all I can say.
No.
You know, when
Thank you.
when I go perform, we've rehearsed an opera for 6 weeks. You know, by the time we have our opening night, it's everything is down.
Right.
You know, it's nothing.
Yeah, this is kind of on the spot improv.
Yeah, exactly. It's really cool.
I actually have a question regarding that. And this is the me kind of question, so forgive me. But I think some people would be interested in this. So let's say someone sits down to get a tarot card reading, and they are clearly extremely introverted. This is just an example. Like, there's no one can look at this person and say, oh, that person's going out to party tonight, or that person has a huge group of friends. It's very obvious they're a sheltered, hermited. And this is, I know I'm making an assumption here that there are cracks in astrology, but let's just say that person sits down and the cards say the exact opposite. How do you deal with that situation?
Well, I don't think I've ever encountered it.
Okay,
so
but not that, any example,
it's real
any
or not.
example.
But a theoretical example, I mean, so are you saying, because astrology, are you talking about what we did?
What I'm saying is, I want to know, I guess it's a backdoor way of asking you how much of what you say is tailored to the experience you have initially meeting the individual or individuals, as opposed to like literally translating, like, this is where your planets are, this is what constellation it's in, this is what the cards say. Like, I'm not interpreting anything, I'm just telling you what I see.
That's a good question. How much does your own impression of a person or your own intuition about a person play in?
And specifically, but I don't want to get away from the original question. Yes, that is the question inherently, but specifically, have you ever run into a situation where you have seen a person and you can clearly say this person is X and the cards are saying they are Y? And what do you do in that situation?
I don't think that's possible. I think they would align.
Right.
I don't think it's possible. I think that's just how it works. Right. Like they align.
That's a reasonable answer.
Yeah, I would say 90% of my readings are done just by me talking and in the moment looking and making connections. 10% might be like, I can feel that you're a sensitive person and like you're caring and giving, but I don't use that. I don't use that as a crutch, like whatsoever at all. I have to talk. I don't even know. I don't make assumptions on what I see ever, because sometimes they could be completely different. I just kind of go card by card. And the more that I've done this, the easier it is to make intuitive connections where I feel like it's this. And then you just go, you say, okay, then you just go. Like when I was talking about your family and I was like, I don't know anything about your family, and I don't even know if I was right, but I'm just saying the reason I spun off on family and maybe like your parents are divorced, like saying that kind of stuff, those are just intuitive hunches that come from, I don't know, just doing it for a while.
Yeah. Maisy, thank you so much for joining us today. That was really fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Very interesting.
It is.
And I'm really in awe of, like I said, I know you're like, why do you think it takes guts? It's just for me, thinking on your toes like that and just interpreting stuff while people sit and just wait.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's very cool. So thank you so much for coming on and doing that for us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is super fun. I love readings and I love like talking to people about what's working and what's not working and just sharing what I believe astrology and tarot cards are, because I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions.
Yeah, definitely. And you can tell you have passion
me
for it. So it's it's cool. It feels authentic, which I love. Yes, thank you so much and have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye,
guys.
Ooh, that was interesting. Are you converted?
I played the fifth.
I mean, it's interesting with all this stuff. Like, I'm open to it. It is fascinating to me how some people really, really, really believe it and some people really, really, really don't. Obviously, you're going to relate to some things, but there's the argument that everyone will relate to something. Mm-hmm. It's, other things, like neither of us have divorced parents. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about my family. I actually think, if anything, I have like the most harmonious family upbringing. But what's interesting,
cartoonishly, actually.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that with the cards, and that's why I was applauding like the confidence it takes to do what she does, because you really have to interpret a combination of cards and like meanings on the spot. And it's a skill to do that, and you may get it wrong, and what are you going to do? But it's just,
you're really on the spot.
Yeah, I just find it really, as someone who performs for a living, but in a much more prepared and rehearsed way, I find what she does really interesting because it is an intimate performance that she's basically improvising.
Yeah.
I feel like let it out.
Look, it's no secret that I don't believe in this stuff.
Yeah.
No secret.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hide it. I don't think it was hidden in that podcast.
But by the way, she deserves extra credit for coming on, because we didn't say this to her, but we have asked someone else on before for this purpose. Right. And when we told them, I really wanted to make sure they knew that you don't believe in this stuff, and that person refused. I
know. She had the courage, the temerity to come on the podcast.
She walked into the lion's den, which I think deserves
applause.
It does.
But I would have liked to have I would have liked to have a more in-depth conversation about the general structure of astrology and why and how and what if, but
the who, what, where, when.
Yes, all of those things that have nothing to do with the actual astrology.
I feel like your Enneagram type is coming out right, or maybe your Scorpio is coming out right now.
Oh yeah, I mean my Scorpio is strong. It's a heavy Scorpio in a Sag. Sag. I love that. Sag. I got a heavy Scorpio in Sag. But I want to know why the planets? What do the planets have to do with us? The planets were floating around doing exactly what they're doing right now way before we ever existed. Way before, billions of years before we existed. They've been going around the sun in the same pattern, in the same constellations. Nothing in the sky has changed for a billion years. 100 million. Some stars have moved a little bit, but it pretty much looks the same as it did when the dinosaurs were around. So were dinosaurs, like, do they have signs? Like, was a Tyrannosaurus Rex under a Scorpio and a Sagittarius home and whatever?
Well, I think it's important to let people believe what they want to believe. And a lot of people believe this stuff. A lot.
I know, and I'm not. One day, when I meet my maker, I may be. He's going to be like, "You're an idiot." I'm sorry.
They,
them. I don't know what you call them. It. Let's call it an it for now. Just no disrespect. It is going to be like, you were wrong about astrology. You are wrong about religion. You are wrong about everything. It's all real. And that's fine. But in the meantime, I have yet to experience or hear a single shred of information from anyone in this realm that has pushed me even 1 millimeter closer to the goal line of believing in this stuff.
Well, it's fine because I don't think that was her mission.
She didn't care, and I respect her, and I respect what she's doing, and I have no disrespect whatsoever to her or anyone in the profession.
You know what's cute about your reaction to all this? And I knew this was going to be delicate. It's not like I thought you'd be like, sweet, I'm going to get my birth chart reading. This is going to go great. I knew that this would be interesting, for better or for worse. And the main reason we did this was because everyone has requested it so much. People have wanted to see this happen.
Yeah, sure.
And what I find interesting is it does take me back to the Enneagram episode and just your insatiable curiosity in some ways gets the best of you.
Sure.
Like it's not enough for you to be told that it just is.
No.
You're like, no, but why? I need to know why. And it's very endearing. And honestly, it's one of the things I love about you. And it's one of the reasons why you know as much as you do about so many random topics. You don't know how not to be curious about stuff. Like, we'll be watching a TV show and you'll go down a rabbit hole Googling what star is where, and I don't know how many rocks are in Saturn's ring or something. I don't know.
I don't believe I've ever Googled how many rocks are in Saturn's ring.
Well, the reason I know that Saturn's ring is made up of rocks is because you told me. I'm not saying you know how many rocks there are, but it was an example of the kind of thing you would look into.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And knowing you, I feel I can picture you now investigating that after we talk about this.
Oh, yeah, there will be more investigations.
Anyway, I think it's very sweet how you can't help yourself. You're curious to a fault. It's endearing.
It's not a wonderful way to live. It doesn't give.
No.
There's a lot of less wonder. I mean, I personally feel that I have more wonder about the natural world and space, as you've been subjected to. I personally don't need there to be any meaning, anything. I don't need there to be anything. It's enough for me. It's enough that I can look up in the sky. Right now, I can look up in the sky. Well, it's cloudy out, but I can look up in the sky on a clear night, and there's a red star that's very visible to the naked eye. There's very, very visible. The star is Betelgeuse.
Yes.
Also a good movie from the 80s, I believe. And that star is 500 light years away. You could see it with your naked eye on a clear night. On even a not that clear night, you can see it. Now, light travels at 186,000 miles per second, which means that in 1 second, light can go around the Earth 7 times. Now imagine you're in a spaceship going that speed, okay? Just picture that. Every second, you're going around the Earth 7 times. It takes you 500 years to get to that star that you can see with your naked eye. Now, that's incredible, but that's not the incredible part. The incredible part is that star is so big that even though it takes 500 years to get there, going 186,000 miles a second, you can still, with your naked eye, in the city lights, see that star.
It's amazing.
And you tell me, why do I need astrology? I don't need any of it. I just see that star, and I am wondered beyond the maximum wonderment that I can experience.
I think that's the perfect place to close.
Okay. We'll heat it up.
After your diatribe about Beetlejuice.
Look up Beetlejuice right next to Orion's belt.
I'm curious to know if the Shandys will have enjoyed this. Because I imagine the people asking for it ask for it because they're curious about it, because they believe in it. And so it'll be interesting to see if this satisfied them in the way that they wanted. I'm interested.
I'm interested as well.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys asked and we delivered. We'll see what you think. If you enjoyed what you heard today, whether or not you agree with our take, you can keep Dear Shandy in business by liking, subscribing, hitting the notification bell, following us on Instagram, leaving us iTunes reviews and ratings, telling your friends, and generally doing all the things you would do to keep a podcast in business. And on that note, I think that's a wrap of this interesting, little different episode of Dear Shandy on a very stormy night.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, very stormy night. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye. Dear Shandy.